Just because we have one, it's, oh gosh, people are so stupid. It's called Matters because it matters. You heard? Well, hear it right here every week on Matters. What's up, everybody? Welcome to season 2, episode 2 of the Matters podcast. I'm your host, Matt Benson. Thank you. So today, last week, we talked about, thank you. So last week,
Listen, thank you.
We talked about AI data center, this week we're going to be talking about AI data centers, but last week we talked about the TSA wait times and everything like that, and I will be traveling this Thursday to Minneapolis, Minnesota for my grandma's birthday, so we'll see how the airport is. I think they start getting paid again, so I think everything should be smooth. And St. John's lost, so we had to take down the St. John's banner in heartbreaking fashion.
No, God!
And Duke won, or Duke.
No, God, please, no! No!
Yep,
no!
It's true.
No!
It's true. So that happened, and now we gotta focus on the Knicks. We here in baseball. Baseball is back, so that's just what we're gonna be locked in on. And we finally got a new computer, thanks to a very generous gift. So that should be arriving soon. But for now, we're still rocking with the laptop. And there's Riggs back there. This new special appearance. We got Riggs and Gizmo back to back. So last week we talked about the airports, and I did a short film, which if you guys want to check that out, it's called Personal Struggles. It's just kind of a little play on
I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Being a 20-something-year-old in this day and age. So if you want to check that out, you can check it out. It's right here on the Matt Benson Studios page, which I'm subscribed to, so you should be subscribed to as well. But today, we're going to be talking about some serious stuff. So, a lot of us use AI, and when I was doing the research for this topic, I tried to avoid the AI overview part on Google because I feel like it's just contradicting what I'm trying to talk to you guys about today. So I did it the old-fashioned way and just went straight through Google, reading different articles, taking notes, everything like that. Research, which is what we should get back to. So let's get into it. So basically the data centers, they range from size varying from small, which is about maybe the size of a closet or the size of a small office building. I mean the size of a small office in a building. And then there's the medium-sized data centers, which are like the size of a full-scale building. And then there's the hyperscale data centers, which are the ones that seem to be going up a lot now, which could be up to the size of about 450 football fields, which is like, that's not true. There's no way they're the size of 450 football fields. Like, there's like 450 football fields. Are you, what?
What did he say?
Yeah, 450 the size of 450 football fields. It's just, you know how much land that takes up? Yeah, exactly. It takes up a lot of land. And it just harms the environment because data centers use a lot of electricity and they use a lot of water. And the water is coming from the natural water supply that you and me and we decide to drink out of every day. And you don't think these data centers are harming us? You think they're just storing all our information? And data centers are not a new concept. They've been around since probably the 1980s when the internet and everything like that started taking off, because this information doesn't disappear, come out of the sky. They got to keep this information somewhere, and they do. It's in the data centers, but now the data centers are they're on a larger scale than they have ever been. And how does this really impact us? So the first article that I discovered was this article by Cornell, and of course they use some AI to create a state-by-state look at the environmental impact. See, like, that's an aspect where, like, AI, I would say it's good to use that. But if you're just using it to make videos about, I don't know, fake scamming videos, stuff like that, just brain rot stuff that really doesn't help anybody and just is for your own entertainment, it's just not good. But so this study found, they did kind of a map out of a state-by-state usage, and they found by 2030 that the current rate of the AI growth would annually put 24 to 44 million metric tons of CO2 into the environment, which is the equivalent of, and not the environment, the atmosphere, which is the equivalent of adding 5 to 10 million cars on the roadways. Yeah, 5 to 10 million cars on the roadways, and it would also drain 731 to 100 to 1,125 million tons of water per year, which equals the annual household output of about 6 to 10 million Americans. So that's just a lot of water and a lot of crap going into the environment. So here it is. You can see it right here. It says this. So I didn't just make this up. It's from this study. And you also have to look at the location of these data centers. A lot of these data centers are in low-income black and brown communities. Because why would you ask that? And why are they choosing to live by these data centers? Well, they're not choosing to live there. They got displaced there because of gentrification and other things like that. So these data centers are displacing people and animals, and they're just taking up land. They're just taking up land, and it's just not good. So that's what we're going to get into today. And this study also looked at, why don't we just use solar and things like that? It would take a lot of solar and a lot of wind in order for them to power these data centers, which is just, it would be such a large amount that where would they get all this energy from? It wouldn't work. It just would work, but it would just be a lot of windmills and everything like that all over the place. Here we go. Buckle up, guys, because it's about to get serious. Carbon emissions all over us. I mean, not all over us. What did he say?
What did he say?
But yeah, in the atmosphere, guys, which is what we breathe in, because the air just doesn't disperse into the atmosphere and go away. It's the air that we breathe in, and it can be very harmful to us, which is in some of these communities. They have reported, like all these, before the data centers, there's other chemical plants that just pump out stuff, and it can cause a lot of asthma and heart problems and everything like that in these poor communities where they're all located. But if we look at the data center, so obviously the data centers range inside, and the article that I'll be referencing will be this article that I read from the World Resources Institute, from energy use to air quality, the many ways data centers affect U.S. communities. So this is just kind of like a medium-sized data center, I would say, which if you see the size of some of these hyperscale ones, you would say that this one is actually small. And they take up a lot of land. So they obviously vary in size from like a small closet to 450 football fields. It's just a range, which is like, that's a huge range. So how much power are these using? So a single data center can use as much power as 100,000 homes. By 2028, that is projected to take up about 12% of all U.S. electricity consumption, which is a huge number, it compares to like 9 times the size of New York. So, and then you can see this map here is all the data centers per city. Obviously, there's a lot of more data centers in California and Virginia, which is over here. And Virginia is known as like the data center capital. It's just, I don't know why Virginia is, but that's just one day they decided to put it up. So as you can see here, 60% of U.S. data centers are found in 10 states: Virginia, Texas, California, Illinois, Georgia, Ohio, Arizona, New York, Oregon, and Florida. So, how data centers affect communities and how governments are responding. How are the governments responding is what I would like to know, but we're not going to get into that. So, technology advances and computing demands grow. Data centers are becoming increasingly energy hungry. A single modern AI data center can use as much power as 100,000 homes. Many larger ones are built expected to consume 20 times that amount. I mean, that is just insane. So yeah, this is what I said earlier. So they can represent up to 12% of all electricity consumption by 2028, and that's about up to 900 gigawatts worth of data centers could come online by 2030. That's about 9 times New York City's peak summer demand joined the grid in the last 5 years. And obviously, since it's been getting hotter out because of the climate change, we're getting hotter summers, which means people are going to be using their ACs more, which take up a lot of electricity. So imagine what's going to happen if these data centers are already using 90 gigawatts of electricity, and people are already pumping their ACs at max because it's so hot outside because it's just getting hotter. Like, if there's a random 70-degree day in, like last year there was a day in November where it was like 80 degrees. So imagine how hot it's going to be in the summer. Can you imagine? It's going to be hot, and it's just going to be it's getting hotter and people are using more AC. But anyways, back to that's a topic for another day, climate change. And then, oh my gosh, I hate when people are like, well, we had that big snowstorm a few weeks ago, so that's global warming's not a thing anymore.
You serious?
What did you just say?
What did he say?
Exactly. What did he say? It's just, that makes no sense. No sense at all. Just because we have one, oh gosh, people are so stupid. But anyways, so, yeah. Data centers, focus. These data centers use a lot of electricity, but they have to stay cool. And obviously, how do they stay cool? How do they stay cool? They use water to stay cool, and they're using water from the natural water supply that is through these communities. And you have to think, so a lot of towns, a lot of these data centers, a lot of them are in Texas and California, which have been experiencing a lot of long periods without rain the last few years. So if you're already going through a drought and you already kind of have to cut back on your water usage, and then these data centers come in and they're using like an insane amount of water. So by 2028, 32 billion gallons of water, which is enough water to support 360,000 households, is how much water these data centers will be using. Which is just an insane amount of water. Like, we already have droughts, so there's less water in lakes and everything like that. So where are we supposed to get our water? So here we go, protecting the local water supply. So yeah, obviously a medium size, but then a large facility can use as much as 5 million gallons daily. A medium-sized facility can use up to 300 gallons of water daily. Comparable to what a small town uses, recent estimates project by 2020, AI data centers in the U.S. could require up to 332 billion gallons of water annually. This is enough. Yeah, obviously I just said that. And it's causing problems. So like towns like Arizona and Colorado, River Basin and Texas, which have been having droughts. And so these AI data centers, they use these diesel generators, which are not only bad for you, they produce a lot of noise. And in a community in southern New Jersey, they just put a data center up, or they're putting one up, and because they can finish the inside before they finish the outside, because they can finish the inside and they can just put all these computers out everywhere, and they're not silent. They go like, So imagine hearing that every day. And the people were complaining about that because the one lady said when she first moved there, it was going to be a golf course, and then like a Tiger Woods golf course or something like that. And then they decided, no, we're just going to put an AI data center, and these people quickly sweep in, and they purchase the land, and then it gets approved like super fast because they donate to some political campaign or something like that. But we don't need to talk about that because we don't want to get taken. But yeah, so they put up a data center there, and it's very loud. And not only do the data centers produce noise, it's the diesel fuel generators that produce noise, and they produce around 85 to 100 decibels, and a jackhammer, like is about 100 decibels. And I know there's a feature in Apple when you're listening to music, you can see like how many decibels am I listening at? Am I in the green? Am I in the red? Usually when you're listening to like audio, you want to stay in the green and like maybe hit yellow, but you don't want to hit the red because that can damage your hearing. So yeah, the people were complaining about this. And they're complaining about the generators. So the diesel fuel backup generators, which are only used like in emergencies if they lose power or anything like that. Like it's not the main way that they get power, but they release nitrogen oxide linked to respiratory disease, heart disease, asthma, and other serious health risks. Along these generators are only used during emergencies. Of course, they have outsized health impacts, emitting 200 to 600 times more nitrogen oxide than natural gas plants. One analysis in Virginia estimated that even limited backup generators could already be associated with nearly $300 million in annual public health costs and 14,000 asthma-related health impacts across multiple states. So some of these facilities are beginning to adopt cleaner on-site power alternatives. Battery energy storage system can replace diesel generators during outage, avoiding their high pollution. And they kind of do like hybrid microgrids, which that's like a whole nother topic. So they do make a lot of noise. So like right here I said they can reach 885 decibels that can harm hearing. Larger industrial units can approach 100 decibels, equivalent to a motorcycle or a jackhammer. And this noise can last for hours or days at a time depending on their power situation. So like a town in Virginia, they complained about this, saying that they were getting headaches and stuff and everything, and they weren't able to sleep because of the noise was just so loud. It was just like, you imagine sleeping if you're just constantly hearing, like, you're just hearing banging. Like, I can't sleep like this morning, which was also weird. There's two big booms of thunder, and I was like, oh, woke me up. It was so loud. So imagine just constantly hearing that every day. And obviously these AI data centers take up a lot of land, which, like I said, the size of 450 football fields, and this has been misplacing, and there's been so in Wisconsin, they did a study, like the hyperscale facilities, which seems to be the trend these days, I guess you could say. They take up about, exceeding 1,000 acres, or about 1.6 square miles. Like, that's a lot of farmland. So not only is it displacing farmland, because we need farmland in order to grow vegetables and stuff like that, to eat food and fruit and everything along those lines. So they're displacing people, and they're displacing animals and farmland. Like, imagine the animals and the people are just getting kicked off their land. And this has been a thing. Like, there used to be what is it called? Like, when the city was like, okay, we have to use this land for a highway or something. Sorry, you gotta leave. Like, it happens. People have been displaced by many government projects over the years. So, like how interstate and highways gutted communities and reinforced segregation. So this is a very long article. The Federal Highway Act of 1956. That's what I was thinking of. It authorized what was the largest public works program in U.S. history. This law promised to contract 41,000 miles of ambitious interstate highway systems that would crisscross the nation's dramatically expanding America's roadways and connecting 42 state capitals, cities, and 90% of all Americans with population over 50,000. It was a goal to eliminate unsafe roads, inconvenient routes, and traffic jams, blah, blah, blah. Highway expansion, implemented largely between the late 1950s and the early 1970s, came at a huge cost to Americans' urban communities of color. According to the estimate from the U.S. Department of Transportation, more than 450,000 households and more than 1 million people were displaced nationwide because of the federal roadway construction. Hulking highways cut through the neighborhoods, darkened and disrupted the pedestrian landscape, worsened air quality, and dropped property values. Communities lost churches, green space, and whole swaths of homes. These also lost small businesses and provide jobs that kept money circulating locally, crucial middle-class footholds in areas already struggling from racist zoning policies, disinvestment, and white flight. So that is a topic for another day. So people have been displaced before, and to, I guess, say, hey, we just want to build a highway or a data center here, you need to leave. And so a lot of these data centers are located in poor, rural, black and brown communities, and you might ask yourself, well, why did they choose to live in those communities? It's because of a thing called gentrification. And gentrification is where you just knock down the housing price. So you raise the housing price, and all the people can't afford it anymore, and then they ended up moving to a poor area. And then when those people all leave, you just build up the neighborhood and you make it all nice and shiny, and then other people come in there. So this has been going on for a very long time. And so there's a town in Memphis, Tennessee, so it's kind of also not just gentrification, it's environmental injustices, which is a very real thing. So here we go. So reducing pressure on marginalized communities. Emerging analysts suggest that some data centers seeing patterns could compound the long-standing environmental and economic challenges. A natural review of roughly 700 data centers across the country found that nearly half of these census tracts with above medium environmental burdens such as air pollution, park access, and water pollution, as measured by the Center of Disease and Control Environmental Justice Index. And so many were located in areas with socially vulnerability indicators such as poverty and low education levels. State-level assessments show similar concerns in California. Existing and planned data centers appear more frequently in areas of high pollution in South Carolina. New facilities and the fossil fuel generation built to power them are often sited near black and low-income communities. So there's a few examples of environmental injustices. There's like the St. James Cancer Alley, which is just St. James Parish, which is also known as Cancer Alley because of all the chemical plants that they have up there. So here it is. So this is the town that we're into. It's right down here in Louisiana, and I think it accounts for about processes up to about 25% of the U.S. petrochemical industry products all come out of St. James Parish in Louisiana, and a lot of people there have like asthma and everything like that. So this has been going on since the 1980s. The massive influx of polluting industries, and a lot of people in this town have had health problems. So many people have died of cancer and everything like that, and it's just not a good place to live because of all these things that have been happening there. And there's many examples of this. If you look at Flint, Michigan, they had the issue with the lead in the water, which was back in 2014, and it's still an ongoing issue. So these people get displaced to these rural communities, and then they just are left there to die and get taken advantage of, which has been going on for a long time, even in neighborhoods. This still happens today. So if you look at, there's a lot of towns in New York, Brooklyn, for example, where, the brownstones are now like, the brownstone houses are like, oh, we just really want to like live here. Like, this is just, it's so nice here. It's just, we just want to live here. And so, like, many towns over the years have been, like, this has been going on since a lot of time. So, and if you kind of have to look at, like, the overall black population in these towns, and it's more so happening a lot in California. Towns that used to be, like, 80% African-American or black are now, like, 80% Latino. And it's just kind of because of the changing landscape of immigration and stuff like that, but it's also because of these people were forced to leave their homes. So this guy, Tim Watkins, his Los Angeles approach was 2/3 black at the onset of 1980s, and now they're really 80% Latino over the same period. 92% of Los Angeles majority black neighborhoods that experience gentrification are no longer majority black. There's a greater percentage of black neighborhoods lost in any other metro area in the nation. Washington is a close second, losing 84% of its 55 majority black areas since 1980. So it's kind of like a real thing that's going on. In Brooklyn, it's happening too. There's a show that Spike Lee did, which was based off a movie, She's Gotta Have It, and they kind of touched on gentrification a little bit, but not on like a very large scale. It's just kind of like one of the issues in the area. In Brooklyn, it's kind of a heavy neighborhood, because of its location. Like, we could just make this a really nice area. It's just because it's close proximity to Manhattan, and it's because it has a lot of subway systems that you can take. So it's just it's a real issue. It's something that you gotta pay attention to, because it's like people. So obviously what they do is they just take the housing and they jack the prices up, and then they make it so people cannot afford to live there.
It's called gentrification. It's what happens when the property value of a certain area is brought down. Huh? You listening? Yeah. They bring the property value down. They can buy the land at a lower price. Then they move all the people out, raise the property value, and sell it at a profit.
And then when the people move out, they just change them.
Brooklyn. Rachel Murray is a lifelong Brooklyn resident in between downtown
and this
Brooklyn
is from November 15th, 2024.
She says she's feeling the impact of gentrification.
I think it's unfair.
And she's not alone.
I worry about people not being able to afford places to live, and the neighborhood becoming less of a neighborhood with the influx of money and rising prices.
I can't afford to live in my own neighborhood. Even though probably technically I am one of the quote gentrifying people.
They're buying up everything, condos going up everywhere.
Murray lamenting how the longtime businesses where she lives have changed.
They do little improvement on the stores to bring in certain customers.
And noting how even basic necessities have become unaffordable.
We won't be able to live here.
Imani Henry is an activist with Equality for Flatbush. The group organizes tenant associations and provides emergency housing assistance. Henry argues that racial dynamics play a big role in the gentrification process.
We talk about black and brown working to middle class people, because homeowners are losing their homes. The deed fraud and theft is really on the high.
Gentrification in Brooklyn is one of the most complex topics.
Dominique Jean-Louis is the chief historian at the Center for Brooklyn History at the Brooklyn Public Library. She illustrates the rapid pace of change and cites Crown Heights as a case.
Crown Heights, for example, goes from 70% white in 1960 to 70% black in 1970s. The character of gentrification in Crown Heights and Bed-Stuy has looked a lot like a racial shift, like a shift from white to black and then to white again when we get to the turn of the 21st century.
But Jean-Louis stresses that race is not the only factor.
I think gentrification is not just a racial issue or a financial issue or a land use issue. I think it encapsulates all of those things.
This ongoing struggle is evident in Carroll Gardens, where residents are taking action.
So yeah, you can see it's a very real thing that's happening. So I used to live in Minnesota, obviously, and there you could see St. Paul. It's like East and West St. Paul. You go over the bridge, and it's like Starbucks and Whole Foods and things like that. And you go over the other side of the bridge, and it's like small local like liquor stores and then like that. And Boys in the Hood, great movie. Also, there's a scene where they touch on this where they explain like what's happening and why there's a liquor store on the corner in every black community, which is just a topic. So that's kind of like, so to get back to what I was saying about the data centers, it's like these people get pushed out of their homes and they get forced to live in these rural communities where they put up all these data centers and they put out a lot of things that harm the environment, whether it's polluting the water, polluting the air, noise, putting out toxic chemicals in the environment. So AI data centers, they're huge, they're big, and we can stop them. You don't have to, because they had to put, in order for them to put something up in your community, they have to vote on it, and the politicians are taking the money from the data people because they're donating. If you donate to a political campaign, then you can get them to say whatever you want. Politicians are very easily bought off, which is just my opinion. But yeah. Oh man, sometimes you just gotta accept for what life is. But yeah, so these data centers, a lot of harm. AI is a great tool, but it also does a lot of harm, whether it's scamming videos, and obviously this information just doesn't come out of anywhere. They store it in these data farms. So, what to know? What key takeaways from this after everything that I just said? So they take up a lot of space, they take up a lot of land, they use a crap ton of water, like it's an insane amount of water and electricity, and it's just harming the environment. It's just not good for us. And I was actually going to talk about how there's the whole situation in Minneapolis where the AI data centers are actually like rising the temperatures in the lakes. A lot of like they use a lot of water to stay cool, but they're also warming the environment. So AI data centers can warm surrounding areas by up to 9 degrees Celsius. Hundreds of millions of people live close enough to data centers used to power AI to feel warmer, avoid temperatures in their local area. So yeah, that's just like, you know. But yeah, so these data centers, they're not really the best thing for you. And personally, if there was everyone in my town or community, I would be less subject to live there, or I'd be like less likely to live there, because I don't want to be breathing in crap and hearing like every day. So to stay aware, if you're living in a community with AI data centers, make sure you can reach out to your local politicians and say, hey, I know this is like could generate us money, but it really only generates temporary money, because obviously that the data center will have to pay taxes in whatever place they're located, and it does create temporary jobs, not permanent jobs, temporary jobs. But they're like, well, what about security for people to watch data center? Like, what, you probably, that maybe hires like 5 to 10 more people out of the whole community, and like brings tech jobs, but the AI is taking the tech jobs. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's just, it is what it is.
Preach it! Preach it!
Preach it. But just stay aware about these data centers, because they can, obviously as it gets hotter out, because of climate change, we're going to be using more AC, more electricity, and then we're going to be battling the AI data centers for the electricity. And it's just like, please just use AI for good things. I don't care. I use AI sometimes for like cover letters and job searching, because it's just a feature that is useful to us. But don't use it for scamming. Don't use it for stupid little videos that you want to make of, like, I don't know, whatever. It's just not benefiting us. And scammers are using it for bad reasons. So these data centers are just taking up a lot of power. And the hyperscale data centers are just not good. I don't think they'll ever be good, and I will never support them. That's just my opinion. And based on all the research I did, which I share with you guys, it's just, do you really think it's benefiting us in any way? I don't think so. From my conclusion I come to, I just don't think it's going to benefit us, and it never will. And there needs to be something done about AI and regulatoring it, putting regulations on it, because it's just growing and it's getting out of control. And it's just so many problems going on in the world, and just one problem at a time we just got to deal with, and then everything will be good, hopefully. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, so this has been another edition of Matt's Matters with me, your host, Matt Benson. That was nice for Riggs and Gizmo to join us. Very kind of them to just chime in. Yeah, so make sure you stay informed. I'm going to put all the links in the description about the data centers and the gentrification, all the research that I did. And yeah, so upgrade to the computer coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And we will catch you guys next week. Love and peace always. Peace.